So Emma, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Will. Thanks for having me. I'm very happy to be here.
So looking forward to our conversation. Obviously, we've known each other for a few years now. And as we were just saying offline, we've had the pleasure of sort of meeting at various different events and getting to know each other. And we've got very much a similar mindset when it comes to productivity and being efficient and getting stuff done. And you've been a huge part in helping us with what we've been doing with Make It Happen, and looking forward to sharing some of your productivity and time mastery nuggets with the people that are listening. So for people that have obviously just heard who you are in the introduction, you are, I suppose, in a great position because you are sort of a bit of a productivity expert, in terms of what you do yourself, but there's literally hundreds of people that have benefited from the service that your business offers, which we're getting sort of touched into how you've really helped so many of those people. But what I would love to know is, lots of people are PAs and they work for PAs and work for companies, and executive assistants working for companies. But what was it that originally made you think, you know what, I'm going to start up my own business and go and do what you've done and had the success that you've had for the many years with my PA?
Oh, sure. Okay. Well, the quick story is that I was at uni, hated it, left halfway through, got a job in an office, it was the really great thing about my work experience that I had before starting a business is that I worked in two businesses that were very much ambitious from the ground up. They were growing, and I had experience of being in those kind of environments. So when I got my first office job, this first business that I was in, they were growing fast. The directors needed a PA. I went for it. I got it. I was there for 2 or 3 years, then got another role as a PA to a very successful property developer. And throughout this time, I can only describe it as, so I was a PA, I loved the role, I really loved the relationship that you have with that person and the direct impact that you see, that you have on that person's life. Do you know, like you do on a daily basis get that feedback that you've made their life easier. And I really loved the relationship of like helping that person. But I can only describe it as, throughout that whole time, I always knew I wanted my own business. And I went through all sorts of things in your head, like I'm sure people do, like, shall I start a coffee shop? I took a cake baking course, all things like that. And for some reason, I ended up back at, and this was in 2008 when I started my business. The word VA was just becoming like more of a thing, that people were starting to outsource PA support. And at the time, it was generally people doing it from home as an individual, like freelance activity. So this second role that I had as a PA, I'd been there for like 2 or 3 years. It absolutely exposed me to all sorts of different decision-making things. And I was helping him, like, in terms of like him running his business, I was right alongside him, privy to everything. So I had really good experience there. And it was like one of these fast moving, oh my God, I can't believe what's happened today kind of roles. So I literally one day handed my notice in and became a freelance VA and did the whole thing of like joining BNI, joining networking groups, to just start to fill my hours. Like I was trading my time for money. And I guess, so that was like from 2008 to 2012. I did 4 years of working from my back bedroom, like providing PA support. I always knew that I wanted to grow it into a proper business, as I always used to call it. And I guess what actually happened is that from that like 2008 to 2012, I experienced firsthand all of the different like hats you have to wear as you grow a business, and all the things you have to learn and you have no clue about. And I very much am really honest that when I started my first business, I don't think I obviously had the passion and I wanted to do it, but I definitely knew very, very little. Hence like all of the books that I've consistently bought and courses and thousands of pounds that I've spent on courses over the past 13 years. But that like first period of time, and throughout the whole of my business life, I've experienced what it is like to be the business owner, having to figure everything out, having to like make the decision of employing people or how I'm going to pick the right person, training them, getting them up to speed. And so actually, as my PA has grown, it's grown based on what I would want to exist, if you know what I mean, in terms of like, actually, it's one of the scariest things business owners do for sure, when they first like think, oh, I need to employ someone, or I need some help, and that, like, will I find the right person? Will they do what I want them to do? How do I train them? And all of that jazz that goes with it. This business has most certainly been based on, it would be great to have a solution that fits in easily. Somebody else has a responsibility of managing and motivating them. The skill set is quite wide, because obviously business owners need different things. And that's ultimately where the ethos of what we do now has come from, because I just know that it's such a, you can have really great ideas and a great business and know what you want to do, but then getting the right people in the right seats it can either speed up what you're doing, or it can drastically slow down what you're doing.
Yeah.
So if anything, I mean, for some clients, we are a great intermediary solution. Some clients are with us for like years and years, and they just love having it outsourced. For some, it is a great like training ground to go, I know what I need, and and it pushes them on to, well, I am going to employ somebody, I am going to build a team. But that's what it was built on, for sure.
No, it's good. Well, very, very inspirational. And I think there's also something here that I want to point out, is that whilst you sort of did what you did, like you said, change time for money, being a proper business as you kind of described it, but there was also the very entrepreneurial part of, there's a problem, I'm going to create a solution that I know that people want, which kind of makes life easier, doesn't it? When you know there's a problem, you're aware of a problem. And a lot of people forget that in business, in that ultimately, is there a problem that people want, and can you provide that solution? And sometimes it's what people don't even realize that they don't want, but it's what they need. And that's great. What I do want to, because there'll be a lot of people listening to this that have heard VA, because it's become a very fashionable term over the last 10 years or so. And, oh, I've got my VA. But I want to talk about the differences between a PA and a VA.
Okay.
What's the difference in your definition?
So I would add one other term into that, and that's because it is an admin person as well. So I think there's like a difference between the three things. And one thing that I always talk to, like, I'm
going to interrupt really quickly. So you're going to add in admin person, and I'm going to add in a fourth one, which is EA, right? So we've got VA, PA. So we got PA, VA, EA, and then AM. Or AP, no, admin person, So we very confusing. But so for people that are like, oh my God, now you've lost us. But if we can explain it, because I think it'd be useful for people.
No, definitely. And it is useful, because I think when people know that they need help, for them to go and get the right solution, you do need to think, what level or what kind of person do I need? So for me, at the very beginning, is an admin person. And I talk about this with my team all the time, because there's a distinct difference between being an admin person and being a PA, an EA, or a VA. So an admin is somebody for me that, I'll say to them, please, can you do this? Here's how you do it. And they do it. And they don't do anything else until you tell them to do something else, or how to do it. Like this, it's very much somebody who just does it without no other further thought to getting something done. Now, that definitely has its place, for something that's very maybe like process driven, happens day in, day out, maybe a lower value task. Like, the admin role definitely has its place. But I think what I talk about all the time with my PA is, our clients want somebody to think for themselves and to suggest and to do things, and not be a robot sat there waiting for the next instruction or the next step. So very much when somebody's looking for somebody to help them and be proactive, and that's a really key part of finding the right solution. Because for me, there are lots of services out there which call themselves VA, but it's more of a like high volume, just process driven stuff. And unless you tell them exactly how to do it, it's not going to get done in that way. So for me, EA, an exec assistant, obviously, which is known as a PA. So again, I talk to my team about how I visualize it. I think, I don't know if you've ever seen Iron Man. Pepper Potts is Iron Man's assistant. And for me, like everything the way they epitomize, and I'm not just talking about the way she's dressed on it, but she is 2 steps ahead of him all the time. She is thinking and giving her opinion on things, and thinking of a better way, and actually going, actually, can I do this for you now? Actually, I've already done this. And so the ethos we instill and the thing that I want to deliver to our clients is having that. And we use the word, it's not Pepper Potts, or it is Pepper Potts style in our office now all the time, like somebody that actually is going, actually, Will, and I'm sure, I'm sure Mia does exactly like, actually, Will, I've already done this. I've already thought ahead about that. I've already told her that I need to move that forward. Or, working with Mia in our business, I can see that she's forward thinking for you. And actually,
so for everyone that's listening, Mia is my my assistant that obviously we deal with Emma as well, and my PA. They help us with various different things. So people think, who's this Mia woman that just jumped into the conversation? Right. Yeah, it's my assistant.
Mia is Will's Pepper Pot. So ultimately an EA is somebody that is that being proactive will give an opinion on something that you've asked them to do. If you ask somebody to research something and they will deliver and go, I found these 3 things, for me this looks way better because of X, Y, and Z. Like, they've been considered about what they are doing. They're doing that they're taking out things you have to think about, or they're that next level up. So there's a big gap for me between an admin and obviously at the other end is an EA. So I almost, it's like it's a right-hand person. It's someone you can rely on. You trust their opinion. They'll go the extra mile. And to me, to be fair, EA and PA, I think, are very, very similar kind of roles. But the overriding thing is, if you want, and it is very possible to have, if you want someone to work with you in your business, to actually go, oh, what do you think about that, Emily? Or what do you like? That you can bounce off and you can trust and have the confidence in this. That there are, I guess, the summary of this is that when anybody is making that decision about what kind of support that they need, that all of these things exist, and there's a big difference between them. And then it's understanding, what do I want? Do I just want somebody to say what I've asked them to do, or do I want somebody that's going to be like a real value add to my business? And that, and for me, that's the big difference between them.
Yeah, and I think you've broken it down really well. I love the distinction between an admin person as being someone you give the task, like you give them the process and they fulfill it. They're not really thinking of themselves. They're kind of just they're like almost like the they're what's the word I'm thinking of? It's like very process driven. Like you give them the process. The PA thinks for themselves. They're trying to think of themselves ahead. And I mean, Mia for me is very much an executive assistant. Like she will take control of certain things. I'll delegate whole things to her, and that's kind of her project to get on with. But it's not just, she's not just making me tea, which I think a lot of people have this perception. I don't need a PA. I don't need someone to make me tea and go and pick up my dry cleaning. It's being a little bit more involved in that respect.
And that is actually just a really good point as well. I think that people think of the word PA, EA, VA, and there can be a connotation to it of like, it's either, I've had some business owners say, don't say you're my PA because they think that we're going to be flabby on cost in the business, like that they're just spending too much money. Or some people think that having someone help them is almost like oh no, I can do it myself, or it's fine. And I'm sure we'll go into this in more detail anyway, but just that like thought of, oh no, I don't need a PA, it's like too much cost. I mean, getting into the mindset of everything that you do, dictates whether that hour is going to be worth £1,000 or £10,000, or whether it's going to be worth £10. And obviously, in the example that you just gave, if you're going out to pick up your dry cleaning, that is a bad example, but it's still, if you go out and do that hour is £10 to you as a business owner. Do you know what I mean? So
we'll go into that in a minute. So I think that the whole sort of £10, £100, £1,000 hour type task we'll go into, because I know it's a big component of how you, I suppose, educate your clients to know how you can help them. But then the one thing that I would just like to clarify, so we talk about PAs, we spoke about assistants. Where's the VA part come in?
Of course, yeah. So obviously VA, for anybody that doesn't know, stands for virtual assistant. And I mean, the virtual assistant industry has been like probably one of the best things to happen to businesses over the past 10 years, because it allows so much to happen easily, flexibly. But ultimately, a virtual assistant is a service, an individual, a company that provides PA support. And that's another topic, because some PA support is a wide breadth of tasks that can possibly happen. And some individuals or companies might have specialisms in some things. Some might be specialists in social media or digital or marketing or your inbox. But generally, a virtual assistant is someone that will work with you like a PA would if they were employed and sat in your office, but they're not. But they're still able to create a relationship with you. And normally you will work with them for a number of hours or a certain period of time throughout the month, which is generally quite flexible in providing more support or less support. But a virtual assistant is someone that is for me, is delivering PA support just as you would, but they are doing it via the medium of Zoom and Teams and WhatsApp and all of the snazzy software that exists now.
Absolutely. So I think, like, again, coming back to the whole thing about identifying a problem and providing a solution, there's a particular demographic of business, not just business owners, because we'll touch on as well some of the type of people you work with that aren't just business owners, and it wouldn't necessarily be obvious as to why they'd be using your services. And people listening to that may well be these people. Is that a lot of people go, yeah, well, I really do need a PA, but I can't justify the whatever salary, and I haven't got 40 hours of work to give them, which is where the VA side of things can step in. From as little as an hour a week, you know, you're getting a skilled person doing the role without without thinking, right, what the hell am I going to get them to do for another 39 hours, without thinking I've got this huge overhead and all the additional sort of management challenges that come with it and all the rest of it, which is where it really becomes very, very attractive. So yeah, that's great. What I want to talk about, and you sort of alluded to it, is the concept of how people can identify their time, because I'm a big believer. A big part of the work that I do with my clients is around time mastery. I don't believe in time management. I don't believe there's any such thing as time management. You can't manage time, but you can manage your priorities. And what it's really about is priority management. And like you said, like if going out and getting the dry cleaner or going out and grabbing that coffee, whilst it might be necessary, it's not necessarily a higher value task. And I'm a big believer that if you don't fill your day with high priority activities, your day gets filled with low priority activities. Yeah. So do you want to maybe just share sort of the difference between that and how people can achieve more? Because we've all got 24 hours in a day, right? 7 days in a week. How people actually use, I suppose, a VA or a PA to get more out of their time from a productivity perspective.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I think what you just said on time mastery is like absolutely nailing it. I mean, I do think like that when I speak to a lot of clients who are either like not sure whether the service will work or struggling to understand what they would leverage, the one thing I will always say in that instance, and whether like a virtual assistant solution is right for them or not, I feel like once you really understand the value of like what an hour can be and get your head around the fact that actually if I do this for an hour, and then again, I know it sounds cliched like the £10 task, but what you do inside that hour can have such a drastic effect on what you earn or where your business goes. I feel like there's an element of actually clicking, like your brain getting into gear with it, to go, yeah, no, I get if I spend, okay, I've got a lot of emails in my inbox. If I spend the next hour on it, I might clear down my inbox, but I could have called a prospect and made a sale. Or, do you know, like, I feel like once you really get into that weighing off, like what a task delivers to you in the end, and I think it comes with experience and practice of going, that I shouldn't do that. I could give that to someone else. I think there's an element of getting into do you know what I mean? Like the clarity of it in your mind.
Yeah. Do you want to, it is a really good way of explaining it, that the whole £10, £100, £1,000 concept. Do you want to explain that for people?
Yeah, no, for sure. And I mean, they're also like the £10 tasks. They're also called quite often like the lower value tasks. And in some ways, I need to come up with a new description for it, because I often think the £10 tasks and the lower value tasks, it doesn't mean that they shouldn't get done. It means they absolutely need to get done, because they're the things that like make your business run, or they make the cogs in the business turn, and everything else, you know, everything else leverages from it, and really good stuff comes from it. So it's not that they're not important. Like that's definitely never the case. They need to get done, but it's not the best use of, let's say we're talking to business owners, like the business owner or the entrepreneur's time to do it, because again, it's not just a maths equation. If you can get somebody else that to do it for a different amount, like a lower amount that you would earn in that hour, or you would charge out. It's 100% the right thing to always do. And I think just another thing to put on top of that, when again people call it lower value tasks and £10 tasks, the person that you might get to do these tasks, whether it's a VA, EA, whatever this is, again, people call them low value tasks, but there is somebody that loves doing these kinds of things, whether it is managing down the inbox, whether it's getting a buzz from knowing that we've just helped you do that, or like this spreadsheet is now in lovely working order, or this presentation's been done. Do you know what I mean? I feel like there's also a lot of mental blocks sometimes with, well, this is not great work.
I have so I'm as you know, you've got to know each other very well over the last few years. I'm very particular about language, and lots of words can be quite ambiguous and vague in their meaning, and value is one of those words. And the way that I liken it to it is that, yes, you could talk about value from how important is it, because you're 100% right. There's certain tasks that if you use the word value and you said, well, it's not important, it is important, it's very important. So you can't necessarily use that. Value could mean a financial value, but it could also be an emotional value as well, right? So for example, you might be able to get a nanny for, I don't know, whatever a nanny costs these days, 30 quid an hour. I don't know. I could be completely wrong and insulting nannies here. But 30 quid an hour to take the kids to school and pick them up. But actually that really means a lot to you. So you want to do it. So you could afford the 30 quid to do it, but because it means it, because the value, the emotional value of it is very high, then you would do it in that respect. And it's not about getting the nanny, because you might be able to charge whatever it is an hour to do your work, but it means a lot more to do that, to drop the kids at school and pick them up or whatever. And that's where, but I do agree with you. It's important for people to be thinking around, and people they get themselves caught up with, but I don't want to do that, or I don't want to delegate that thing. I also think it's very important to think about meaning. Like personally, and I think you and I are quite similar in this, I do my utmost to live my life doing the stuff that I love, you know, and whether that's sport related stuff, whether it's hanging out with certain mates. I say certain mates as if there's some mates I don't like hanging out with, hanging out with mates, whether it's certain things that I do within my business. Like I try and create a life where I just get to do the sort of the 9 out of 10 and 10 out of 10 stuff as much as possible. So it doesn't mean that other stuff. One of the mantras that I love, and I actually print it out, get it and put in frames and send to my clients, is it needs to be done, but I don't need to do it. It's a really important thing. And when we have that view, it does need to be done. It is important, but I don't need to do it. It's like they allow themselves to hand that over.
Yeah, oh, totally. No, I love that phrase. That is perfect. I talk a lot with my clients about focusing on the fun stuff. And for me, that is like, business doesn't have to be hard. I know it is hard, but it doesn't have to be consistently hard every single day. And that business owners should focus on either the things they love doing, like I'm sure you and I are similar in that we love, like I've got like a weekly video series, you do the podcast, like we love, giving value, like, spreading what we know and helping other people and being like the figure of our business and the marketing and all of that jazz. Like that's what I love doing. So for me, business owners should focus on either what they love doing, what their skill set was meant to be, or like you say about taking the kids to school, all the things that you actually just enjoy, and everything else should be. And it's never like a thing that you do all in one go, but it's bit by bit, task by task. It's you can do this, you can do that, and just going through that. But I guess just going back to the £10 and £1,000 tasks, it's a really simple equation in that whatever you do, so like, we're recording this now late morning, so say from 1 till 2 this afternoon, if a business owner was to spend that time going to find all the invoices from the last month and sending them to receipt bank or the bookkeeper, or if they were going to clear their inbox down, or if they're going to pull some information into a spreadsheet, or if they're going to like book all the trains for next week, those kind of tasks in that hour, somebody else can do, I'm 100% certain, at a lower rate than you would charge out yourself. They're going to love doing it. It's their bag. That's what they love doing all day long. And in that hour from 1 till 2, you could, whether it's recording a podcast, or whether it's ringing up the last 10 people to inquire in the business and see if they've made a decision about, you know, going ahead with whatever product or service you use, or whether it's like getting back in contact with some old customers, you know, if you're swapping those tasks for them, or that these are for sure going to give you a much bigger potential return than the comfort, because I do think it is quite comfortable for some people sometimes to get into those busy doing tasks, because you feel, you know, you're doing stuff and it's easy to do and it's quite comforting, but it's not really going to move your business forward. And so the £10, £100 tasks that are a bit lower and just, like you say, you know, needs to be done, but then you could use that hour for the £1,000 or the £10,000, or whatever your product or service. It could be something that triggers a sale or an opportunity, or you know, like that's the way up all the time.
Yeah, and I think we have three drivers, right? We have a driver to move away from pain, we have a driver to move towards pleasure, and we have a driver to operate in inspiration. And I'm yet to ever meet a single person that likes losing money. Right? I've never met, I don't know about you, but I've never met anyone that likes losing money. Yeah. And what you've just explained there, for a lot of people, they go, all right, well, that makes sense. But what I've found that works really powerfully is when you explain how they're actually losing money by putting the things on receipt bank or sort of these tasks you were talking about, which, using your example, is that, let's say that task they could get someone to do for a tenner, for argument's sake. So it's a £10 an hour task, but then if they'd have delivered on the work that they love doing, so it's the fun stuff, as you put it, and they really enjoy it, but they could be paid sort of £100 to do that. So that 1 till 2 example that you gave, well, if they'd spent their time doing that, and let's say even that they could have charged for doing that particular thing £50, for example. Well, if they'd done that for £50, and then they'd paid that person £10, they're still net up 40.
Yeah.
Whereas so the way that I see it is that if they'd have done putting the receipts on receipt bank for that hour, they've actually lost £40. And when people see it like that, and then they work out how many hours a week they're losing money, and then they work out that figure, all of a sudden it goes, oh yeah, maybe I need a VA, or maybe I need a PA, and they get assistance in.
Yeah, no, definitely. You've hit the nail on the head. And I think the other thing is, like, so for me, like, one of the things I'm focused on at the moment is growing a sales team, whether that's employed virtually to help us to grow my PA. And I have always done all of the sales calls. And again, I can continue to do sales calls, but I can only do so many in the day. You know, I can only do so many of these activities or follow-ups in the day. And again, I think the other thing to think about is how, by leveraging your time, so do you know what I mean? It's like, because I've only got, say, the 8 hours that I work, by getting somebody else to help in, and even if I just still did it, I've got then 16 hours, or if you get another person, I've got 24 hours. It's like, it's also what it enables you to do in terms of achieving more. Do you know what I mean? Like, there is definitely the value cost, and that's for sure in, like, well, I could have made a lot more money in this hour. And then I think the other thing is, because there'll be people who think, well, I can do everything I need to do inside the 8 hours. Do you know what I mean? Like, from 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, they'll think, well, I can fit it all in and I'll do my bits. I'm happy doing what I'm doing. I guess the other big trigger that getting assistance and support in is, it allows so much more to get done. Because, so maybe at the moment you're not doing, I don't know, maybe somebody would love to start a podcast, or maybe they're not following up enough, or maybe they're just, I don't know, maybe they're not going home at 5 o'clock and seeing their family. Maybe they're working late every night. By getting the assistance, it allows so much more to get done as well.
Yeah, more to be able to focus on the fun stuff, right? To be able to do that and do the things that you really want to be doing. And I think it's a powerful question to ask yourself: am I loving what I'm doing? You know, and if you're not, then change it, or change the way you think about it. It's very good in that respect. I mean, what I would like to touch on is, obviously we spoke about this whole thing around value, and we spoke a lot about business owners, because there's a lot of people that are ambitious business owners and whatnot that are listening to this particular episode. but you as a company don't just deal with business owners, right? There are other people which may again well be listening to this episode. So who are those types of people that you help, and how do you help them?
For sure. So our business owners, entrepreneurs, a big part of it. We also help a lot of professional sports players. So specifically, Premier League players, some that play in other leagues in other countries, and also what I would call so they are or have been business owners, and they have what I would call, like, sold their business, or they're now living a life where they are doing what they want and totally only focusing on the fun stuff. And for both of those categories of people, it is a very similar support. I mean, a lot of it is for them, they treat their personal life in the same way that we're talking about business owners treating their own, like their business 9 to 5 day. So they treat their personal life like, actually, what in these hours can I still leverage? So whether that is booking travel, whether it is finding a new home to rent, whether it is putting the children in kids clubs or downloading the homework from school, it's like really is personal assistance and support. As we call it, like the family assistant. So for them, and I do think it's quite telling as well in the especially like the business owners that we've got where they've sold businesses and now they're very much doing what they want when they please, maybe looking at new opportunities, new investments, that kind of thing. They are very much running their lives like a business and leveraging everything where they can. And again, it's definitely stuff that they don't enjoy doing and don't want to do. And they see the value that actually I could do something far more valuable with my time. So I guess it's quite the same theme runs through them all, in that it's generally a lot of personal family assistance, day-to-day social, traveling, wherever it might be. But for them, they're like leveraging on leveraging, do you know what I mean? Because it's so important to them that their life, they are busy people, their life runs smoothly. And so they are seeing stuff that happens in their day to day also as the stuff, well, it's not what I want to do. So I'll get someone to help me and support me and assist me on it.
Yeah. And like you say, like those things like the travel and this, that, and the other, people forget that they can get help in. And anyone, whether it's having so if you worked a 40-hour week and you're busy and whatnot, you're not a business owner, rather than have to spend Saturday morning spending 3 hours doing the cleaning, well, have someone do the cleaning for you in the week. That which means that then you're not getting a return on in investment per se, but you're getting a return on your time again to focus on more of the fun stuff. So a couple of things that I really want to talk about as an assistant and sort of the typical is it penny pots, the
Pepper pots.
Pepper pots. I was gonna say Peppa Pig then, but it's definitely not Peppa Pig. So it traditionally you have this I suppose people have this vision of being really organized and really on it and whatnot, which no doubt you are. So what are some of your I suppose top tips for being organized and being productive that for you are like your non-negotiables, that mean that you keep like what you use personally and that you are like team and clients just do this and it will change your life by doing those things?
Nice. Yeah. Okay. A couple of things. So number one, and this is my simplest one, is that every day I have one thing that I need to get done. So, but this is not something like clear my inbox down, or it might be I need to write all the content for my TV over the next month. That's something that something that I know amplifies our reach, and it has lots of good stuff.
Which, just for everyone's listening, my TV is Emma's YouTube channel, which is brilliant, by the way. So go and watch it. We'll pop the link in the show notes so you can go check it out.
So my one thing that I need to get done every day that's going to move us forward. So it might be, I don't know, deciding on a new niche that we're going to target for new clients, or it might be the content for my TV, or it might be also well, I know that we've had that this thing happens in my business a lot and I need to solve it, so I'll create a video for it, or a course, or a process, something that's going to like move the needle or solve a problem that doesn't happen again. And that might take 40 minutes, or it might take an hour and a half, but I'll have one thing every day, because I feel like, well, it also for sure, all these things layered on top of each other every single day means that a lot of stuff is getting done, even though it's just one thing that I'm focusing on. And I think the other thing, it just gives an element of confidence for the rest of the day as well, that you know that you can emerge from my section of time whenever I've done it. And I know a lot of people talk about getting all the stuff done in the morning. One thing I would say on that is everybody is different, and some people do prefer to do it from 6 o'clock at night, or so I don't. I mean, I've definitely tried to force myself into doing things like at 5 o'clock in the morning. It's like, I don't know why I'm doing this, because it doesn't really work for me. But whenever you get it done in the day, everybody's day will be different. You come out of that with, one, a good feeling, and two, knowing that you've like done the really good work there, and whatever else the day throws at you, you can get, do you know what I mean? You can tackle it, you can get on with it, because you've already done the really good, meaningful work. And that generally will take only like an hour, 90 minutes a day, whatever it is, to really make a difference. So for me, the number one thing is always, what tomorrow should I really do? Like at some point, lock my door, put the timer on, and I just need to get it done, and be disciplined with yourself. That's the one thing. And then I'd say the second thing is, in terms of, and it's not sexy, this tip at all, and I know it probably might feel a bit onerous to some people, but if you ever feel, because I know definitely, I mean, even though the industry that I'm in, I'm not spending every single day being hyper productive. I'll also have days where I will think, okay, they don't feel like they've been the most productive, or I feel like I need to like reactivate what is my focus? What do I really need to focus on? I always suggest, I do it myself and to clients, is to do a bit of a time audit over the past couple of days. And I created a thing called a productivity pad, which we use internally. But you can use anything. I mean, there's so many time management softwares out there, or a piece of paper works fine by your laptop. Is that from whenever you start, let's just say it's a 9 to 5 day, from 9 to 5 every hour, just noting down what you have done and where you have spent your time. And if because definitely, the reason our clients come to us is because that they either know they're not getting enough done, they're overwhelmed, or they're feeling in a bit of a funk of some description, because they're like, I need to get some support. This exercise, even if you did it for 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, the longer the better, but just noting down what you've done hour to hour gives really good clarity on, one, oh, actually, I have just realized that all the stuff that I've done is really, it is just, and I could get somebody else to do that. It's not really moving me forward. I'm just here doing, do you know what I mean? Doing, doing. And it gives you a really good place to make decisions from as well. Like, well, actually, okay, who could I get to do that? Or who could, this would be really impactful if I get rid of this task of my inbox 3 times a day. This would be really impactful for me. I'd have so much time back. I could, and again, it's not all about work. I could leave on time. But the time audit for me, again, need a different name because it doesn't sound great, but just noting that down hour to hour is so insightful for people, to make good decisions.
Absolutely. I do this a lot. And I mean, you're right. It is onerous. And my personal little tip is, don't use a bit of software. Have a bit of paper on your desk that you're literally carrying around with you, like a baby carries their blanket for those few days of that week. Because if it's there, then you update it and look for those. So the thing that was really eye-opening for me when I did this, I'll never forget, was that I as an exercise, sometimes that sort of half an hour or hour that you mentioned that you do it in, I go, what the hell have I just done for the last half an hour? Like I just genuinely don't. And when I go back and I look and I go, I look in, there's a couple of key places I look on WhatsApp, and I see the messages I reply, and I was looking at my sent emails, and I was actually looking at my phone calls, and because it was the ad hoc phone call that I got that I wasn't expecting, that took a 10-minute chunk, and then I replied to that email, writing that email to it. But the thing that I always thought was really funny was that, so for I don't know, 8 years now, I've used meal prep. So I don't like cooking, but I love eating. So I've used meal prep for a long time now, and in my head, lunch was 5 minutes. It was 10 seconds to walk down the stairs, 2 minutes in the microwave, 3 minutes of eating it. So in my head, for years, lunch was a 5-minute task. I know, sit down and chew your food and eat and whatever, but I was like, I just want to eat for the sake of eating and move on. And I'm sure people have opinions on that. But when I actually did the time exercise, that 5-minute task that I was spending doing every day was actually a 20-minute thing, because I'd go down, I'd put the food in the microwave, then it'd come out, then I'd put it down to cool for a little bit. Then I'd start eating it. But as I'm eating it, I'm checking social media and I'm scrolling through social media. So that's although that 5-minute task was actually 20-minute task, all those times a day, that quick 30-second phone call that I took wasn't actually 30 seconds. It was 4.5 minutes. And all of those little things that add up. And that's so if you're listening to this right now and you're going, where the hell does I never have enough time in the day. I never get everything done. I start with a to-do list. And by the end of the day, it's even longer than what it was when I started, when I finished it. That's what Emma's just said. There's a really, really powerful task. Now you mentioned that there's a productivity pad. Can people get hold of that?
They can, yes. That it is on our website as a place to download from, basically.
Brilliant.
I can give you the URL for the show.
And it's free to download, right?
Yes.
So we'll pop the URL in the show notes so you can head to that and get that productivity pad. So that's something that you do that helps people be productive, find out where their time's going, so then they can identify what it is that they maybe need to delegate out, the lower value. I know we've spoken about the word value, but the lower value tasks is something that they can be done.
And just going back to the focus on the fun stuff, the one thing that I would do with that list, if you get a list of tasks of any shape, any shape or form that you've done yesterday that you've noted down, the thing that is then just very simply splitting that task into things you love doing, things you hate doing, and things you don't really know how to do that well. Do you know? And then the two of that, like, I hate doing all, and I just know it's not my skill set. I don't really know how to do it. Those then are the things that you then focus on to go, okay, well, who can do this? Who can do that? And understand, because it took me ages to understand that actually what I really love doing in my business. And that only came to light kind of like 4 or 5 years ago, the bits that I love doing when I started doing videos and things. But, getting that list of things, and it's not something that you solve tomorrow or solve right now. Even if you just got rid of one task per week and actually that person can do that from now on. And that all of these, I love marginal gains. I love the impact it has over the course of the weeks and the months, and it's not overwhelming, but you are slowly but surely. And then all of a sudden you do get this momentum that, wow, I'm now starting to see my time is freeing up. But I think just solving, even if it was one thing per week, I don't like doing this. Who could do it from now on and take it off me?
That whole it needs to be done, but I don't need to do it sort of approach, one thing each week, offloading it. What is there anything else? Because we could talk all day about productivity and time mastery and that whole side of things, but is there anything else that for you is like if people just took this thing, and you've already shared some fantastic insights, but if there was something else that people you think they should be doing to help them with sort of productivity and time management, what would you suggest?
It's not actually a practical tip, but for me, this was, and considering the business that I'm in, like, this was the big game changer for me, is understanding the value of every hour that you're in your business. Because I think it really does, because I know people will still go, well, it's just easy to do it myself. And Nigel Boschel said to me like a couple of years ago that it's a poor man's thinking if someone just goes, it's easy to do myself. Well, it might be easier, but actually what are the wider implications of that? And I think this, like, the simple calculation of whatever you turn over or want to earn this year, if you're an individual, what you turn over, but whatever you want to earn this year, let's say it's whether it's 50,000, 100,000, whatever it is, when you actually just do the maths behind, okay, so if I want to earn, say it's 50,000, what do I need to be generating on a daily basis? Divided by what is that on an hourly basis? And whatever that figure is going to be completely different for everybody in this, who's listening to this podcast. And I honestly think without really getting to understand, all right, I didn't realize that I need to be, generating £50 an hour, £100 an hour every hour to be doing actually what I wanted to do. I didn't realize. I think you need to get to a point where you become very, very specific on your time and go, actually, that's not good use of my time. Whether, when you said you might take a phone call off guard and then you're on it for 10, 15 minutes. Some of those phone calls are going to be great. You want, some of them are going to be, I shouldn't have taken that right now. That was not a good use of my time. And I always say to our clients, the first place that I always look for most of our clients now, if they're feeling overwhelmed, they're not where they want to be, they're not achieving what they want to do, is inbound communication. And for me, time management, what is happening to inbound communication is generally the quickest win for everyone. So whether that's your phone, like whether it's the business phone or whatever lines you've got coming in, are you answering them all? Who's answering them? Facebook messages, social DMs, you know what I mean? Like, are you having to get back to every single one each time? Or emails, is it you getting back? Because actually most of our clients, they are just reactive constantly throughout the day via things that are coming in back. So for me, whether, I know it's not a generic time management tip, but understanding the impact that it has, just doing this quickly, just doing that quickly, not going, I'm not doing that right now, I'm going to like make my callbacks in the afternoon, I'm not just going to keep getting reactive to everything. Understanding the value of what that does, every time you do that, you're losing £100 or however you know what I mean, you equate it. And the second bit is what actually happens to the inbound communications in your life or in your business, because I do think that is one of the quickest wins, to just have a bit of a, even if it's just a hi, it's Em here, I'm Will's PA, Will be back to you like later to do, like, or actually I can get that booked in for you, I can book a call with, do you know, like, and also it just frees up so much headspace. I know there's so many people overwhelmed by it.
I think you're so right. That inbound reactive stuff is huge. And I think as well, the thing for people to bear in mind, like a little top tip for everybody now, turn off notifications right on your phone. The amount of people that I cannot believe, they're like, particularly these days, people in WhatsApp groups and all the rest of it, just turn off WhatsApp notifications, turn off all social media notifications. So the difference it will make to your headspace is unbelievable. And then it doesn't mean you're never going to see them, because you're going to be proactive. You're going to check your WhatsApp and check your social media. But it is a game changer. So you're 100% right on that inbound stuff. But one of the things that you've done for us now for, I don't know, 5 years maybe, is you answer. I say you, it's not you personally, it's a team of people, which is something that I want to share with everyone in a second actually about this. If people call Make It Happen, they are going to speak to one of your team answering as us, and when they call the number. So that's one of the things that people can do, a very, very easy way, an incredibly cost-effective way of people taking those calls. And it's a live person. I say live as if they're dead. They're not dead. They're definitely alive. It's not just a voicemail box or whatever. Answering the calls and doing that. And for people that want to experience that, I'm right in saying they can just like test that with you.
We have a free trial, a 7-day free trial, definitely for any business, to see if it's a benefit to them, see the impact that it has on them, not having to be the first point of contact for all calls. Which
I highly recommend. Take up that offer, experience the freedom that it gives you. And again, we'll pop the link in the show notes somewhere so you can take Emma up on that. Now, I'm going to share this one other thing before we look at rounding up. My personal experience with VAs, I've had a lot. So I don't know exactly how many in total, but probably 7, right? But I've had my PA support me for, like I say, 4 or 5 years now, from answering calls to various different things. But there's one common issue that I've seen with VAs that I've used, that I've taken when I've employed a freelance working on their own VA, and this is probably what you experienced back in 2008, 2012, is that they generally get clients that want a few hours here and there, right? Whether it's 5 hours, 10 hours a week, whatever. So then all of a sudden they end up with 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 clients. Yeah. But the problem is every single one of those clients wants to be number one priority. Yeah. And they can't be. So what either happens is the VA themselves gets burnt out and goes, oh my God, I can't deal with the stress and whatever, or bad service, right? That's kind of what I've experienced. Now I'm not saying this for everyone, it's just my experience. One of the big differences with my PA, and I'm going to really sort of blow your trumpet here, and this is that you've got a whole team of incredible people that whoever is doing the task, like you literally, like we don't have to give you the process. We say what we want, you create the process, and then anyone on your team can pick it up at any given point. So whereas if that VA's kids are off school or was ill or got struck with COVID or whatever else it might be, that means that I suffer. But with you guys, the benefit of using you guys is that no matter what, it's being picked up. which I think is a huge difference. And it's a consideration when people first think about using VAs, they wouldn't necessarily know about this until they've experienced the downside of it, which is why I personally rate my PA so highly. And I know I've recommended a lot of my clients that have been very, very happy. And I honestly think anyone listening to this that's looking to sort of become a bit more productive, they're thinking about delegating, but they don't want to take on someone full time, should definitely come and have a conversation with you.
I really appreciate that description, Will. I feel like it's definitely the one thing we wanted to be there for, because I will always say this, like there is a solution for every kind of problem. Like some people will benefit from a freelance, some people will benefit. I'd call ourselves more like an agency style almost. I mean, all of our team are employed. It's not like but what you said there, in that for that person who actually just wants something solving, but doesn't want the having to go, well, actually, if that person's off, who's doing it then? Or if that person's sick, who's doing it then? That is what we are.
What you're taking over
that whole
university
is about.
And in addition to that as well, and what I'll say, and you know this, is that you can have a relationship that still serves you. So for example, what I've done and I've used my PA many times for is, like, I think of it a bit like an overflow car park. When we get particularly busy, we can offload some stuff to you and we know it's going to get done. Equally, if I know that I want to take on a new person, but I'm not quite there yet, then I can sort of, you guys become the interim, basically process it for us, and then I bring in that person. And then the next time we're going to have the new role, then you guys take over, and it works really well like that. So I suppose publicly I'm saying thank you. And for anyone else that's considering it, I recommend going and having a conversation.
Oh, I really appreciate that. No, that's great. Thank you.
Very good. So, for everyone that's been listening, show notes are in the show notes. We'll put the links to the various things that we have mentioned. But if people want to come and find you, Emma, where can they come and find you and find out more about my PA?
Yeah, I mean, our website is mi-pa.co.uk, and that is quite comprehensive with the call, answering the PA support, everything on there. And I guess the main place is my Instagram is Emma my PA.
Wonderful. Well, thank you very much, Emma. It's been a very, very useful episode for so many people. For all of you that have been listening, I hope you've enjoyed it. Now go away and put some of these things into action. And until next time, make it happen.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Make It Happen with Will Polston podcast. Make sure you join Will's free Facebook group, the Make It Happen community. Please support the show by subscribing on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, SoundCloud, or Google Play. Share this episode with at least one friend you think would benefit from it, and give Will a 5-star review wherever you download your podcasts. Until next time, make it happen.